there you are. Welcome, everyone, to PCARMARKET Live. My name is David Jacobson, and you are going to be part of Inside the Market 38. I just want to tell you about my partner, Jim, who is with us once again, and the valuation extraordinaire. Don't you love when I say that? And we have back with us today David Whitlock. Welcome, David.
Thank you. It's great to be back in the hot seat.
David's back in that. Well, this is a cool seat.
The cool seat.
But you know, David, again, if for those of you that don't know him, is really engulfed in a lot of the Porsche world, a lot of the community. He's the creator of the Stuttgart Letter.
Stuttgart Market Letter.
Market Letter.
Yep.
Okay, which talks about valuations and auction results. And
auction results. The daily market letter breaks down the Porsche market from the previous day. Looks at trends, history, different auctions.
Yeah, and you know how appropriate that you're here, right? I think if there's anybody that fits right into what we do, I think it's you. And also, I'll tell you something else I was impressed with. I showed it to Jim the other day, is your Instagram. You know, when you do that the auction results, 4, 3, 2,
yes.
1. I caught myself enamored with that and watching it. It's a very, very creative. I think we may steal that, Jim.
Yeah, because a lot of people post, cars up on the block, and it's like, all right. But that it was just, it got you what you wanted to see, which was the result, and it was cool.
It was interesting. It was
gets
very
people's attention.
It was very good. I actually enjoyed it. And you know what? I have a very short attention span, which is one of my great traits. And I usually look at something and I'm done in like 2 seconds, or I'll watch one post, I'll go on. But I actually found myself looking for more of that in your feed. So kudos to that. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job.
I'm working on creating more. It's gotten a lot of traction.
Yeah, good. And I saw the amount of the reaction to that compared to your other posts, which are all good, but that one is like boom,
hundreds of thousands of views.
Wow,
it's been impressive.
Very good.
More than I thought.
Send them this way, huh? Well, we're going to be talking about something that could be that's very interesting for a lot of you and maybe educational for others, and right up your alley. So we're going to talk about the 356, which is my goodness, there's a lot to talk about, and I promise you we're not going to get so deep into it because we could talk here for days. But the 356, let's talk 2 minutes about a little bit of the history, just to get people who may be interested in some of the history of the vehicle. We did something called Driven to America, which many people know about. It's a bigger Porsche event in the Northeast here. We're going to be doing it again for those of you that keep sending emails. Driven to America 4. As soon as we... probably in 2000.
That's good news.
Yeah.
I had somebody ask me about that the other day.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Yep. We really enjoy that. We're going to get it together. And but during putting that show together, I personally, as well as a lot of the staff here, have learned a lot about 356s, the history of the Porsche in general, and also with Max Hoffman. Everyone knows Max Hoffman, the importer who is from Austria, who was friends with the Porsche family, came to the U.S. and brought the 356 here, as well as the Mercedes, BMW, had a relationship with BMW almost, in fact, until he died. It kept on even after he died. But just talking about Porsche here, in 1952 is when the coat of arms, the Stuttgart coat of arms, was created, and that was when the logo was first put on the vehicle. And those of you that follow and saw Rod Emery's car, what was that car called again? The one that he had in the 1948 356? Was it even called that? The one he had, Jim?
I don't know.
It was at the RM auction. Remember that really old 356?
The green one?
Yeah. What was that? It was called a Type 1 or something?
Wait, what year?
1948.
Oh, yeah, it's the Gmund Coupes. So that's when they were built in Austria.
Yeah.
So the first early cars, the first 50 cars when they first came out, it took them like 2 years to sell 50 cars.
Yeah, that's
when
right.
the 356 launched.
Yep.
So it didn't take off right away. And they were built in an old sawmill in Austria, in Gmund, Austria.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of my trips. So there's a nice museum there, right?
Yes, there is.
Have you been there?
I haven't. I would love to go.
Let's plan a trip.
Let's do it.
I'm serious, because that's one of my bucket list trips, is to go there and see that. I heard it's not very big, but it's spectacular.
Yes.
But so that's that's before the 356 name. That was really while they were creating the car, and it was quite interesting history. So one of the things Max Hoffman wanted to do is he was a real marketer, right? He really wanted to bring the cars to the U.S. in a different way to satisfy the U.S. market. And we all know, when you look at 1950s, look at what a 1950s Chevy looked like, and look at what a 356 looked like.
It was 3 times the size.
I mean, they had complete different execution.
One thing I learned was that when I sat in the first 1954 Corvette we ever saw, you can't even get in the car. The steering wheel's on the seat.
It is hard. You can't sit in the car. Yeah. It's incredible, and that's where Porsche is just so amazing. Just the room that's in that car. Every time I get into my 356, I'm like, I can't believe how roomy the car is.
And the ride, we're amazed. How
yeah.
well it rides.
Oh my goodness.
Like,
I call it like this.
Night and day.
You go over the bump of the 350, it's like doo-doom, doo-doom, doo-doom. We have a 57 4-cam. And I drive that car, and it's like, I can't believe what they were able to do in 1957.
And the handling.
And the
handling is like nothing else.
Incredible.
Yes.
Incredible. So obviously, lightweight, small displacement engines, really focusing on the weight ratio. We can go into that. That's not what we're here for today. But we can see what I mean. We can get crazy with 356s. But so in 1955, Max convinces Ferdinand to come out with a name of a car, right, David? The Continental. And
yes. He said that cars with numbers weren't going to sell in the U.S.
Yeah.
It needs a name.
That's right.
So Continental it was.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Continental it wasn't because
somebody else had it.
Lincoln had the Continental from back then, and you could put 356s in the trunk of a Lincoln Continental in 1955.
And he was clearly wrong, obviously. Americans love the numbered cars, BMW, Mercedes, it became like a thing,
Trial and error. Some of the things Max did was a monster hit.
And the Americans never made it work.
Some of the things were a big failure. What?
Yeah, I'm saying the Americans tried to make a few cars numbers, and it just never stuck.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yep.
Yeah. That's very interesting.
But everyone knows what a 500 Mercedes is and a 7 Series. I mean, everybody knows.
Yeah.
911, but no one talks about an American car by a number.
Yeah, there's quite a difference in the cultures and the thought process. It's really interesting when you look back at the history. But so in 1955, they get sued and they wind up having to change the name, and they come up with the name European. Which is really cool, right, David? When you see the European written on the side, is this
the script? Is
the logo is beautiful.
Yeah, the logos are nice. Yeah,
it's the same damn car, but it just looks sexy with the name European written on it. It's just so, it really is. Talk about marketing, and I think it worked. I think it was nice, and today it's very special, right? That's why they did all these quirky
Only
things.
A handful of them are out there, so
only a handful
values
of them out
go
there.
up.
Yeah, no, they're very, very cool. When you see one, it's like, ooh, it's very, very special. But they went back the year after, 1957. They went back to the 356, and there you go. Time goes on. In 1953, they built 16 American Roadsters. The American Roadster, really beautiful, very low profile cabriolet.
Another idea from Max Hoffman.
Another idea from Max. Max's whole thing was, in fact, we have it around here. I have the ad when Max said to Ferdinand, he goes, "We need to build a car that the Americans can drive to the track, race the car, and then drive it home." And he created the Speedster in 1955, and that was the whole premise of the vehicle. $29.95 was the advertisement for Hoffman Motors. $29.95, you could buy yourself a Speedster. Not a bad return on the investment if you still had that car today. But just really, really cool stuff. And then 1955, the Speedster, and they built that for 3 years. And then one of my favorites is, and we'll move on here, is is Walter Glockler comes up with this race car, this kind of resto mod. I'm going to say resto mod, but kind of like a racy street racing Porsche that he turned into a race car and started racing them and winning at the track. Yeah. And then Porsche eventually
took notice of those. Well, and I've got a Glockler story for you.
Let me hear.
So back in college, I doing what I do, going through the internet, looking for cars constantly, and I find a original Glockler Spider. Needs complete restoration, so I'm in college, I don't have any money, so I email my dad. I say, "Dad, listen, you need to jump on this car. This is the one. This is, a valuable piece of Porsche history. I mean, this is the car."
Is this true? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yes. My father is here shaking his head. Yes, this is true.
Oh, so this didn't end well.
And, this is a valuable piece of history. This is the car that, Porsche said, okay, you can put our name on the car. And then it became, they made their own version, the 550 Spider, which is, notorious, a beautiful historic car. So I sent it to my dad, and he's like, "Oh, no, it's just old Porsche, whatever." Years later, we're at Amelia Island. And that exact car, fully restored, is sitting there on the field. And it was in absolute gorgeous condition. People did a beautiful job restoring it. And values on those are spider money these days.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, so we missed the boat on that one, but there's always more cars to find and save.
You know what? We all have stories like that. There's a guy not far from here who Charlie was. He had a chance to buy a GTO, it was like $6,500 or $16,500.
To be clear, a Ferrari GTO.
A Ferrari.
Yes.
Yeah, not a Pontiac.
Yeah, because a lot of people had chances to buy GTOs.
Yes, a lot of people, and you still can.
You
for
still
under,
can.
ten,
For
under 10,000.
Yeah.
But can you imagine? So
yeah.
feel bad, but not that bad. Not that bad. But that, you know what? I actually I'm in a little pain right now for you.
Yeah.
That would be very, very special. But Walter Glockler raced, took notice. Max Hoffman was involved, and they had some great success together. Then Porsche started doing and building their own race cars. They had the four cams and so forth, and eventually they built a full, really just a full purpose race purpose car with the 550.
550s, the 904s.
And then the RS60s and 61s and so forth, and the rest is history. So that's a little bit of Porsche history, Porsche 356 history. Thank you for sharing that story. That's
Yes.
it makes me feel better about some of the things I didn't buy that I could have bought, or should have bought, I should say. So one of the things about the Porsche 356 is that there's tremendous difference in the values, so we're going to kind of stay away from the Speedsters and the four cams and obviously the America Roadster and that stuff, because there's such a crazy difference in pricing.
Those are their own animal.
Their own,
completely different market, different car.
Different car, and there's just that's its own show. That's its own show. But Porsche did come up with they did have a Pre-A, which is the early cars. Then they had the A, and then they had the B and the C. And valuation, the Pre-A's are really very sought after today, really more than most. And then you have the A's, which the Speedster was in that range of production, 55, 58, when the A's were being produced. I had one of my first Porsches I ever bought was a 1960 356 BT5 coupe. Roadster, excuse me. Right, Jim?
Yep.
We love that car.
That was a beautiful car.
Right?
It's still here though. It's local, which is nice. Yeah.
Oh, so
We never see it. We
oh,
never
you don't?
see it. No, but it's
don't see it.
20 miles from here.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Squirreled away in somebody's collection.
What? The greatest thing about it, the husband and wife that purchased the car, they saved up. They were retiring, and they wanted a 356 Cabriolet for retirement. And they came in here, and they you could see them struggling with making a decision, and they drove out of here. I felt so happy where the car was going. It was one of those good sales.
That was your
Yes.
first
good moments.
car, like a collector car you bought. Like, not that you had Porsche
That was-
before that, but you said that was the first one.
That was
you
the
bought,
first.
right?
I still remember driving upstate New York, and I forget the guy's name. He had a Speedster being made as.
Yeah, and you would have liked that because I remember very vividly that car had he had the classified ad from when he bought that car. I remember the whole story.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
the son was like a race car driver, and then he passed away young. They stuck it in a barn. It sat there, and it
No.
Yeah.
Well, yes and no. But what happened was the son went away to the military. The kid. I'm sorry. The kid was driving drunk. They took the car away from him and put it in a barn, and the car sat there for. I mean, it had to be. I think
That car had its license plate still, right?
it had the license
Yeah.
plate still. They had a picture of it was, I say a barn. It was a dilapidated garage. It was
Yeah.
a garage barn find.
Air
but-
quotes, barn find.
Yeah, and what happened was the town had to destroy the building because it was not safe. It was a dilapidated building, and that's when the car had to be pulled out, and he had the ad, from them pulling it out, and so I had all that history with it.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
oh man, it was just a wonderful.
Because it's
Stories
important to
sell
mention, like
cars.
those other cars you just said that we're not going to get into. The reason why you can't put values on them is the history drives a lot of the value. You know what I mean? The paperwork that goes with the car is sometimes,
Exactly.
more than the value of the car.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So-
and it had 15,000 miles on it. A copy of the original odometer before the car was restored. Yeah. See, that's the one I should have kept.
That's
David.
another
That's
keeper
another
right
one I
there.
should have kept. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to talk a little bit about the values because that's what you're here for. A lot of people are here for that. So here we're going to start with.
Oh, you're just showing people what a notchback.
Yeah, well, we're going to show. Yeah, that's right. Thank you for reminding me. I actually have over here. Have you ever seen one of these? And I actually, you saw the American Roadster. We put those on the screen before, but this is a notchback, a factory notchback. And you could see in some of the other pictures where the back is notched out. It doesn't have that.
It's basically
that
like a
round in the back.
roadster body, right? With a
It
roof.
was, so what it
That's
was,
exactly
so
right.
the early T5 cars were actually cabriolet bodies.
That's right.
And Porsche noticed that a lot of customers were buying these cars with just the hard tops, not the soft tops. So they thought, all right, why don't we just weld on a hard top? And they did this with the T5s. But then by the time the T6 came around, they decided this is actually its own body. So they produced T6 Notchback bodies versus welding the hard tops onto the cars. They made roughly about like 600 T6s versus 1,000 or so T5s. And when you look at these in the market, it's 356Bs are the most produced 356, so there's a lot of them out there. But even though these are rarer, my opinion is not as beautiful, and I think the market agrees because these are always softer.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm in that camp. I'm in that camp.
I look at this
pretty. This is the kind of thing that, if you're collecting them and you want to show a variation, you add it in.
I want to have something
this
different.
Your only 356.
So, but that's it. But it's a cool car. So this sold on PCARMARKET actually a while ago. But okay, so let's move on over here. We're talking about value. So, one of the things that Jim and I were talking about putting this together, David, was the 356 market. I kind of look at it like, and don't shoot me here, right? Like the mid-year Corvette market. The buyer of this car traditionally is a lot older than most Porsche customers today. And I believe that as time goes on, unfortunately, there's going to be less and less and less people that are interested in these cars. So I think that started about 6 years ago, where I saw a downward pressure on the value of these cars. In fact, I was talking to a very knowledgeable gentleman at an airport that we happened to see each other going to, I think it was the Lit Show. And we were talking about that you could buy at that time, you could buy it was like $100,000 plus for a really nice coupe. If you went to an A or a pre-A, it was more. But like a B or a C, you could buy. Now it went down to like 60 or 55 to 65 grand, for a reasonable one, not fully restored. And I think since then, the market kind of raised a little bit.
It has.
Right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So like 2019 or like 18 to 19 is when we started seeing that dip in the market because they were pretty high before that.
Yes,
I'm talking Bs, where there's a lot of the coupes. And of course, you did get the pop, post-COVID. And what we saw was, it rise just steadily. It wasn't that super pop. Like some markets, like 911s, for example, like we talked about last time, come end of 2020, 2021, it was like a line straight up and coming back down. But 356s, they've been pretty steady since the pandemic. You have your 2021 cars that have sold pretty strongly, but it's not too bad. We haven't seen them get much softer here in the last 12 months of the year.
Yeah, listen, I think there's a platform underneath the numbers on these cars. It's kind of like the F-bodies when they were really tanking for a while. How low are they going to go?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then it becomes like, oh my God, I want one of these. I've been waiting. So I totally agree. And then you have the hot rods and all that other stuff that people are getting turned on. The younger crowd is seeing a lot of the Emery cars and some other people building these, and that causes an interest in the model in general. So I think there's a little bit of that going on, although this is such an old car. It's so listen. We have a Speedster. We have a 4Cam. To me, driving this car is one of the most glorious experiences that I've ever had behind the wheel of a car.
Absolute joy to drive.
It's incredible, incredible. It's funny because Cliff, a friend of ours, he always says it's momentum driving. You got to get the speed going to feel that, the power in the car.
Keep it.
And keep that momentum.
Keep it.
But I'm going to tell you, in fact, yesterday, I'm going to share this with you. If Rich Romero, I love you, Rich. If Rich was here, I think I would have choked him. I was here for 25 minutes trying to start the car. You should have seen me if the video camera was on there. I was like, ever see like a funny cartoon? Like
which car?
The Speedster.
The Speedster.
I couldn't start the car. I couldn't get it started. It was like, and usually I can count on the 8th try, it's going to turn over.
Yeah.
But he did not want me to. It did not want to be driven yesterday. So I took what did I take? Oh, I took the Chevelle. I took a 67 Chevelle.
Completely different experience there.
It is, but I just wanted that old feeling yesterday because it was the first cool day. Those of you that are in the Northeast know yesterday was like a glorious day. So I wanted to drive something that had no air conditioning, that I can just be outside. But anyway, it does 78 grand as a final bid. And you know what, David? A 63 B Coupe.
B Coupe is a super engine. So it's
not a Super 90.
Not a Super 90. It's just a 1600S.
Yeah.
And I think this one was a little bit light on the bid. I think another $10,000 could have had it, and that would have been in the money with today's market. Just shy of $100,000.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yep.
Totally agree. I'm surprised this one ended up not selling. It's strange because it was a beautiful car. Love that.
Yeah, it was
Love
a black
that
plate
ivory
car. And
nice
color. Yeah.
Yeah. So then let's just go on here. Let's hit a couple of these. Here's another 63 B 1600 coupe. A lot of people
Cabriolet,
like,
cabriolet.
Super cab.
I'm sorry, cabriolet. And let's be a little. Tell people what that means. Super doesn't really mean much on these cars.
It's a bump in horsepower by what, like 10, 15 horsepower? It's not a whole lot.
Yeah, but did they even make a 16? Oh, yeah, they stopped making the 1600s. They were all eventually super sports. Supers. No,
They eventually went, so they were all 1600 cc.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of them were super, so it wasn't that special. The real special ones were the Super 90s.
Super 90s, yeah.
Yep, Super 90s in the market have a good pop.
Yeah, definitely, and that's a keeper when you get a Super 90. But you know what? Again, at these prices, this car sells, Jim, for $100,000. Right?
Let's talk about why.
Tell me why.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Well, because this is what the people need to know, right? This looks cheap, but it's that's the way the car stacked up. It looks like a really nice driver.
Yeah, it's non-numbers matching.
Right, not numbers matching. I believe it was a color change on this one. But see, that spells really fair buy price. If you just want to drive one of these around, you're not collecting. You're not entering into a thing where you're being judged.
Yeah, it's not a Concours car. It's going to do well.
Yeah, you're driving a $200,000 car for half price, and it's cool.
Most people can't tell the difference.
That's right.
And this is the way it was back then. Black and white. These cars were a lot of black ones, a lot of white ones. Most of the cars you see today that are in those cool, funky colors are not.
They weren't originally
They
that
weren't
way.
original.
Yep, to find an originally like Azure Blue 356.
Oh, forget it.
Yeah, and if it's a real original color car like that, very, very special. But you know what? This is back in the 50s. This was cool, man. A black 356, right? Look at the interior on this car. Just really, really a beautiful car. Check that out. When you get black with this like camel tan color, just really, really pretty. Pops really nice, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that was a good price for what it was.
Yeah.
I think so.
Absolutely.
$100,000.
$100,000 for a driver quality, a 356 Cabriolet, especially Bs.
Yeah,
made
twin
a lot
grill,
of them.
right? This was a twin grill. This car.
So
Yes,
Yep,
63
twin
with
grill.
twin grill. Yep. And I'm just trying to see if there's a little bit of a video over here. These. Look at this. See, this is where you want to drive this car too. Beautiful. Get some volume here. Do you hear that, guys? No? Oh, I got you here. Wait a minute. Oh, it's on volume. Anyway, but you can see just that open air of these were really true Cabriolet Roadsters. You were out there when you were driving this car. Very, very, very special. So, okay, let's move on here to the next one. So now we go to a 1965. We go to a C 1600 Carmen Coupe. This car, we talked about the color of this thing, Jim.
Yeah. Well, also, it's important to mention this is like a very close to a final car, right, Dave? They did not make these. They were making 911s for 2 years.
They're making
already.
911s right now, so this is a 65.
Yep.
And this is probably, I would say, one of the best drivers of the bunch. Because it's
yeah.
the final iteration of the 356. Better brakes, larger wheels. So good car to drive.
Look at that color combo. See, now we talked about this before about emotion and about on the last we didn't put that podcast up. We're going to put it up. The one we talk about taking photos and presentation. This is the way you present a car.
Yeah, presentation on this one's beautiful. Even though it's not the original color, the color they chose, gorgeous. I believe still period correct. Lots of service history on this car. They really went through. They got a good number for it. 95,000 for just a 1600 C coupe is.
Yeah,
fairly
what you
solid.
just pointed out is important because a lot of people will come in with like a 61 or a 62, whatever, earlier coupe in this same type of, thing where it's a color change, not numbers matching, whatever, and they want this kind of money. And the reason this car got this kind of money is because it's a 65. And if this was a number matching car, what do you think this would have sold for, David?
If this was a numbers matching car, even in a recent restoration, you could see easy low hundreds, mid $100,000 for this.
130-ish.
Yeah. If it was an SC, even more then.
Or
So that was the top of the line engine, barring four cams.
Yeah.
They didn't make it
And the
this year.
sunroof coupes obviously bring a little premium as well because they're
Stunning.
rare. Yeah.
Stunning. Look at that. Beautiful.
See, it's the opposite, guys. The 911s, no sunroof.
No sunroof
brings
brings
the
the
money.
money.
On the 356s,
That's
you
a
get
very
a sunroof.
Well, that's
Yeah.
a very good point.
Yep.
Right.
356. Wait, sunroof 356 is good. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Value-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So back like in the modern day, if you have a sunroof, the slick tops are worth more. It's strange,
That's
right?
right.
You get a sunroof in an older Porsche, and it's a
Well,
big
it's
deal.
just supply demand, right? Because it was
Yeah,
an option
yeah.
in this car that nobody got, and the new cars, everyone. It's so funny. Everyone's just trying to play that off on the 991s like it's a sunroof delete. It is not a sunroof delete. Sunroof's an option on a 991. On every other 911,
Don't tell anybody.
every other 911, sunroof's standard.
Yep.
993
Well, in the US,
standard,
it was
964
standard.
standard. So if it's missing the sunroof, someone ordered it that way.
So
That's
it's
why
standard
it's
in
rare.
the U.S. on 964.
Yes, in the U.S. In
Yeah.
the U.S. U.S. Correct.
So this car sells for $100,000 all in. I agree. You know, this car, this color combination, this condition. Who needs numbers matching in a car like this? I mean, come on. You know, this car, if it had numbers matching, and you're going to spend $115 to $130 for the car, there's no more enjoyment. It just goes into a collection, and at that point, because of the values, I don't even think it's a big deal. So this car was a home run for the seller and the buyer, and the person will enjoy it for many years. So next over here we have a beautiful 61B coupe. I think this is signal red. Yeah, signal red, which was the red back then. Beautiful. Look at these lines on this car. Another nice presentation. Now, what about this car, Jim?
This is just a good gauge of where like the early 60s coupes are selling. You know what I mean? Because, you know, this is what you would, you know, this car really doesn't have any apologies. It's nicely presented. And, you know, but there's nothing so rare or obscure about it to where it should be over six figures. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the value in this car is the work done to this car you couldn't even do for what the car sold for. You know what I mean? So even though the car's not really worth much more than this, the buyer lucked out because he didn't have to sit through a restoration and spend, you know, another $50,000 on top of this to get this exact result.
Yeah, they have a nice hum in the motor. I don't even know if you can hear that.
No.
Beautiful. Do I have a mute on?
You could do a reenactment if you like.
Actually, I can. Hold on. No, here I go. I can't use my sound effects. Very, very bad. But so this car. So what this car sells for 78,000 all in, right?
Yep, 75.
I mean, and what a lot of fun. What a lot of fun for that kind of money. And where's it going from there?
I think it's going to be steady.
It's going to be steady.
Yeah, you're not going to lose money. You can sell this in a few years. You're not going to lose much, barring, you know, financial collapse or anything like that.
Even with a financial collapse. See, and when this is actually, you're not far off from replica money now at this point.
No.
We've had replicas sell for this kind of money at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, granted, those are the ones with really heightened performance. Yeah, I mean, you know, some of those have like the Subaru engine or like a, you know, really, really bored out, you know, like a 2300.
It amazes me to see replicas selling, like a 356 speeds of replica selling for $70,000. And it's, I mean, it goes both ways. You have some replicas that are in the $30,000 range, and it really depends on who built the car. Like vintage motor cars seems to be the replica company that brings the most money. They'll bring in the 70 JPS.
Well, that's why, see, I don't like the word replica, because back when they were really replicas, it was because, hey, a real one costs X, so I can't afford it, or I don't want to spend that kind of money, or I don't want to take my real one, so I'm just going to get one that looks like it. But some of these now are becoming real drivers.
They are. We're going to do replicas in a minute. Let's hold that, because there's some great information to share with those, with the motors and who's building it and so forth.
Sorry, damn it.
No, it's okay. No.
Jumping the gun here, guys.
No, that was, listen, we had a window. You walked right out the window. It was right there. So let's go to the next one over here, which is a 61. Jim, you know this car well.
Yeah, so this was a nice car. I saw this one in person, and it's actually a friend of mine's car. And this was not a numbers matching car, but beautifully restored. And I think it was a very fair price. This is a car that, like, you know, it could have sold for $115, it could have sold for $130. It's like in that range somewhere. So it kind of landed in the middle. But I think if you just had this exact car with the numbers matching motor, maybe it's $140 to $150. So I think that's why I think it was fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the single grille. I just like that.
Yeah, those T5s.
This car was so nice. Yeah, I mean, because, you know, sometimes when you get up close to these cars, the paint isn't like, you know, perfect glass.
Especially on the black.
Yeah, like this was a really nice black paint.
Yeah.
I mean, like looked like you could dive into it. It was beautiful. So whoever got this,
beautiful,
got a really nice car. Yeah.
Very, very nice. Now, again, this car sells for $125,000 all in, and just a no excuses, no apology car. Again, a car like this is going to, you know, it can fluctuate in price. The market changes, but you're really in a safe place over here as well. Then we have over here, I think there's a final one of the factory cars.
This is a pretty color.
Yeah, Mice and Blue. To me, Jim, remember I tried to buy that Speedster? I was raising my hand, and I was invisible, and it sold.
Yeah, they weren't even taking his bid.
I was trying to raise my hand. It was. I'm not going to tell you what auction house it was. It was Amelia Island. I was like, hello, and it was like the guy was looking this way. I'm trying to. He just totally missed me.
Started throwing water bottles.
We almost threw something at him, but it was a beautiful Mice and Blue.
He might have had a flag on him. His credit card expired or something.
But these are close to my heart. Just look how this car shines. Look how this car is presented in the Mice and Blue. It's just absolutely stunning.
Yeah, they got a good looking car for the money too. I think what obviously hurt the value on this one, the engine. So 912 engine versus, you know, the original engine. And color combination too. The exterior is beautiful in the mice and blue, but had like a red interior.
Yeah.
With that mice and.
And I believe it was not the original color from when I read the listing. So.
No, it's not.
But again,
Nah.
that enhanced it.
Yep.
This sold for good money considering it wasn't like all original. And I mean, because obviously
So
the
what
color,
did it sell for?
sold this car
155
plus, so 160 all in.
You know, I remember this auction. I remember the bidding was fierce at the end.
Yes.
This is strictly what we always say. If when you have a combination of a really nice presentation, the right car, the right color, you're going to have, it's an extra 2 people that are bidding. That's it. You add 2 people to the mix, and the car doesn't stop because everyone wants the
Well,
car.
I say it in every. I try to say it in every podcast. Everyone uses so much logic when they try to value their own car. There's logic goes out the window when
really
emotion
does.
takes over. That's what really determines the outcome on these. Because on paper, they're only worth a certain amount. This car is obviously sold for more than it's worth on paper. Because if I just said, "Hey, I got a non-numbers matching with a 912 motor
Yeah, it's
with a color change,"
120, 130.
If that. If
yeah.
that. You know what I mean? So.
It comes down to this. If I show you a picture of the black car, I show you a picture of this car. This car is gonna make your stomach flutter a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It's so, look at the
Absolutely.
photos. Look at the way this person took the blue in the background here. This is a fantastic presentation. And again, I'm going to tell you, I don't believe this is any fancy camera. I may be wrong, but this is the way to just make something look good by the composition, the angles in the background.
Yeah, put a little effort into it, and you have
Put
a
little
well-sold car.
Exactly. And the car does the rest of the work for you. You got to stay out of the way. I always say that. Stay out of the way. Let the car do the work. And then we have here finally a
Replica.
I'm sorry. We're going to replicas. Okay.
Yeah.
So this was a beautiful car. Hey, it fooled me.
Yeah. And you know why? Because you never see coupe replicas. They are so.
They're all
cool.
speedsters.
That's how you really
Yeah,
fool people.
that's true.
You know, everyone
That's
thinks
true.
your real speedster is a replica, but no one would think your coupe replica is a replica. You know what I mean?
Look at the history of all the 356 replicas that go through auction, and a handful of coupes here and there. But
this is cool.
It gives this one away. You know, they based on 1958, but it had a single grill back there.
See, this is a case when the car is so beautiful that the background doesn't matter, because look at that beautiful background. Okay? But, and you know what's funny, too? You look at this car, you kind of see the body. You could tell, you know.
That would actually be a good background if it was like a real like ratty looking, you know, Resto Modi kind of car. Because
Yeah.
it looks like it's in a ghetto area, but this car is too pretty with the blue.
Oh, it's but
Belongs to the ocean.
Look at the way the light is hitting that car with the shadows. Just really stunning. And you want to know something? Whoever buys, see, this is why it's very interesting. Some people that buy these cars may have a factory correct one, and they want to drive. I never understood that. I know a few people that have speedsters, and they bought speedster replicas, and they want to drive the speedster replica, and they want to keep the other car on. You know, how does that help?
Yeah, drive it.
You know what I'm saying? You're driving a Volkswagen, you're driving a Subaru motor. I understand. Is it just the fact of being in something that looks like what's real? That does nothing for me personally. I understand buying a replica. I understand that if you're not really a big Porsche guy or a girl, whatever, and you want to drive something that looks authentic and real, and you love that lifestyle, and you want to spend a fraction of the price, that's one thing. But to buy one because you have a real one, does that make sense to you guys?
None whatsoever, especially in the 356 market.
But they do it. People do it.
Yeah.
And I'm not judging it. It's like whatever floats your boat. But I just
Not for
never.
me.
I guess it's just, you know, if they see something and it speaks to them, you know, and they see what they could buy it for versus what the real one's worth, maybe there's a value there. I don't know.
Say that again.
I'm saying, like, let's say I had a beautiful couple of 356s in my garage, and I'm just not shopping for a replica, but I walk by this car, or I see an ad for this car, and it speaks to me, and I know what I'd have to pay to buy a real 356, and I'm like, I like that car.
If you had
$40,000,
if you had 4 of them in your garage,
I could see it.
But what are you going to choose to drive when you? I mean, I would rather drive the original.
yeah. Why would you? That's
Well, again, that's what we were saying, and then we saved it for here. What if this car is like really enhanced performance-wise? I mean, some.
Well,
of
no,
these
hold on.
replicas,
Different story.
Yeah.
Different story. I'm saying I know people that have
Just buy a straight up
purchased them
replica,
and say
yeah.
I want to buy. I have a real one and I wanted to buy one to drive. I don't get it.
That's weird.
I don't get it. But hey, listen. At that point, it's a hot rod, one-off special car. You put a nice, Subaru
and some
motor.
people are worried about, like, see, with these old cars, you don't have to worry about mileage like you do on, like, an original 993 that, has documented miles. Yes, I'm trying to justify my but, if the car left the garage and got destroyed, yes, it's insured, but what if it's an heirloom? That's a reason, too. Like, what if it has real sentimental value? What if it was your great-grandfather's car, your grandfather's car, whatever? Yeah, I mean, and that's a reason to maybe do it, possibly. But I mean, but
really
listen, there's a lot of people
searching
that hang on to these things for those reasons.
grasping at straws here.
Yeah.
Well, Well, you have.
Oh, how about this? How
you've met a
about
lot
how
of
about
people
somebody
like
that buys like a white 993, never drives it, and then they make a? Would you buy a replica 993 instead of
No, but I
driving
buy a
it?
hot rod for sure.
You would, all right.
Yeah.
But that's different. That's going to be
Yeah.
just as much, if not more. But anyway, listen. Whatever this is what we love about this hobby is that everyone has a different take on why they do things, and I think it's very, very cool.
I had a replica. I had a 550 Spider replica. I had a Beck. And that is obviously because I couldn't afford a real 550 Spider because my dad didn't buy that Glockler.
Sorry, Dad.
And
Sorry,
plus,
Dad.
Beck is easier to say than Porsche, right?
Right?
No, but David, I get that.
Yep.
I get this. I get the replica RS Spider. For some reason, it's different to me. I don't know. To me, that's so crazy, so expensive, and it's so unique and crazy looking. See one of those in the rows of replica, and I could see that. Just a lightweight, fun car to drive. And I get you can say the same thing about these, but that's like making a home version, an artist making a home version of the Mona Lisa. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You could justify putting that up in your house because the other one's so out of reach. And I guess you could also say some people that buy the replica, the real ones are out of reach.
Real speedsters.
You know
out
what I'm
of
saying?
reach.
So
Yeah.
who are we to judge, man?
Well, moving past that, though, I think then, if you're buying one that's giving you a great driving experience, that's a very justified purchase. That's all.
Yeah, that's at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If you're
They're
happy,
fun
Because
cars.
it's like
that's
to
it.
your case, if there was some kind of a replica 993 that drove outrageous and the build quality was outrageous, yeah, I would buy it. But I wouldn't just buy it because I don't want to drive my car and then drive
Yeah.
a fake one. That's weird because I like driving the craftsmanship, the build quality, the sound. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to drive something that looks the part.
But you also get this when you buy the replica. Look at that coochie.
That's a nice car.
All right, you're not going to do that to a 20, nice air cooled 2300 cc motor.
Yeah, that's
right.
Disc brakes.
Disc brakes. It's even got the sticker. Yeah, cool stuff.
Extra 10
man.
horsepower right there.
Yep. Man, this does look like fun.
Yeah.
This looks like a fun car to drive, right? Another Speedster wide body replica. These are badass looking, man. They really are. Again, my cup of tea, not necessarily.
Some of them look goofy.
Some of them look goofy.
This one looks good.
This one looks freaking cool, man.
Wheels make the car.
That's right.
The goofy ones have
Always.
like the weird modern wheels. This
Yeah, they
one's
look like Hot
not
Wheels,
too
literally.
bad. It has a little bit of that Fuchs look to it.
Dave,
Little
I
bit.
like you trying to find the
No, those are actually nice wheels.
Those
I
to
see
some
what
of the
he's saying.
wheels. Yeah.
Listen to me. It's badass looking. Look at that. Look at
Yeah,
that.
look at that. Look at those hips.
That is cool.
That's why I like C4S's so much.
Those rear
Like
quarters
fat
almost look
rear
like
end.
they almost look like a 964 or a 930 wide body
Yeah.
fender. I mean, it's really nice. This is nicely done. This car.
And again, it just looks like a lot of fun, man. Let's get to that interior. So, we're talking about values here. I just want to just show the interior so you can see what you're getting here.
And that has a video, by the way. You may want to
Yeah, check
see
the
if we got
video,
some
man.
sound because that motor looks pretty cool.
You know what? For some reason, I'm not getting any sound with my... Okay, we'll try this one. We're not going to try either one. All right. Anyway,
That's it.
But again, what did this sell for?
40. I
40
believe, plus.
Yes, $40,000 mid-market for a replica.
40 grand, fun car. Again, it obviously hits all the buttons for a certain buyer. Next we have over here is the stunning replica.
Yeah, so
Really
another 40
beautiful.
grand. So it's like you have the two different replica buyers. You have the buyer who wants more exact with this one
Right.
versus the hot roddy replica that we had in that previous car we looked at.
And what I was saying to David when we looked at this car, these, spec-wise, you typically see selling in the 20s, but this one was so nicely done.
So well done.
This jumped into that territory where you can get almost like a JPS or, something like that.
So this
Yeah,
is-
which would be in the 60, 70.
Yeah.
you know what? This car was built to make somebody think it was 100% real.
Yes. This was built to replicate.
This
for
was
sure.
Thank you, David. Well put. This was built to replicate. Really, really well done. I mean, everyone who knows me knows I'm a sucker for silver red in general, but really a beautiful car. And even the seats. Check out. Let's get to the interior here. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to give you a seizure here, following my pictures. But look at that. Very nicely done, right? Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Nice Roadster, 3-gauge. Nice. And this, again, look at the numbers, man. You could buy this thing for, 42, 40, whatever it is, all in. That's a lot of car for the money, is it not?
Yeah, it is.
Forget the fact that it's a replica. Forget anything about what it is. Just to drive around in this car, you'd be proud to do it. Very, very nice.
Oh, yeah. You know what Replica had me recently on your website? That 907K.
Oh,
That thing was unbelievable. And I was glad to see it actually sold in the deal tank. So I guess it ended at a final bid of like, what, 250 or something like that?
It was one of those cars that
Yeah.
I guess people really had a lot of questions. I expected that to sell through auction.
Yeah.
And I was surprised.
Yep.
But,
and then they wanted, like, I saw the buy it now was like 500,000, and it ended up selling just over 400K,
the gentleman that bought
right?
it didn't even bid.
Okay.
He called. He noticed it 3 or 4 days after it didn't sell.
Probably
And
because I featured in the Stuttgart Market Letter.
that's probably why. And he called, and he actually bought a few cars on the site recently.
that.
Did you feature it? You put it in the
Oh,
in
yeah,
your letter?
absolutely. Because
Look how cool that is.
It was interesting because the gentleman who built this, famous builder. So he had built other replicas before this car and then went on to work with somebody restoring real 908s. So he had a lot of hands-on experience with these fiberglass Porsche race cars. And they ended up getting the blueprints for this car from Germany, or for basically 907s. And it's almost a tool room replica.
Yeah.
So they built some of the parts through the blueprints they had. They got some parts from the Vassar Polak parts collection to remake them. And then there's some original parts as well on the car. So this is as close as you're going to get to racing a 60s
Is
Porsche
it
race
enhanced
car.
past the factory car? Like, would you think it's better to drive?
I think he
about the
kept,
same.
he kept
No,
he
I think he
kept
kept it
real.
as
Kept it
real.
real.
I think he kept it as real as you possibly could. They made 2 of these, and this is the one that was raced the least, if I remember correctly.
This is incredible.
Yeah, just incredible example. And even at $400,000 or the $500,000,
It was still a deal.
It was still a deal because when you think of like the Ferrari world, and
Yes,
this is what I
yep.
went into. You have like the 250 replicas, the tool room replicas, the real 250 short wheelbase replicas. That's a $1.5 million car.
Well, what
to
I had
do.
said to the gentleman buying it, because he called me directly, I've been dealing with him, and what I had said to him is a lot of cars that are just so amazing, they're never even available for sale.
Yeah.
This car would not be for sale. The gentleman passed away. So it's not like this was, let's build a car and see if we can flip it and make
These
money.
trade hands privately.
This is one of
yeah.
these things, and now it's in another collection. It's probably not coming up for sale again.
Yep.
All right.
You know what I mean?
So I think we can leave it there.
I think so.
Right?
Don't
I think
forget
we
Instagram,
leave it
Twitter.
there.
blah, blah, blah.
Yep, of course. So thank you. So a little housekeeping, right? Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now Threads. Oh my goodness, you can't keep up with this stuff. And
I
then,
thought that was a clothing store.
and then give me the dates again. We're at the Hampton Concourse.
That's Saturday. That's the
Saturday,
5th, August 5th.
August 5th. So this Saturday, August 5th, we'll be in the Hampton Concourse if you're on Long Island. And then we're also going to be Checked It Out in Chicago.
Yeah, that's. I don't have that.
What's okay?
date
What's
on
the month?
It's the end of August.
The end of August, we're in
of
Checked It
August,
Out.
yep.
Yeah, so check it out. Check it out. Checked
Checked
it
It Out.
online. Checked It Out online. And David, check out the Stuttgart Market Letter.
Stuttgart Market Letter. Yep, you can find me Instagram, all the socials. David K. Whitlock.
There you go, man. Hey, listen, David, thank you for coming
Hey,
out.
thanks for having me, guys. Always a pleasure.
We're going to try to have you out here once a month, and it was great. You brought your dad for surprising us today. Very nice, always to see him. Jim, thank you, and we appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time on Inside the Market. Thank you.